right, we are live again. Good afternoon, my great American friends. It's Jay Burst here for you for the next 37 hours on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Or is it Monday? Who knows anymore? Coming to you live from New York City. 3 hours a day, every day. That's what we're trying for because the algorithms ask for it. So let's see if people come through. Okay. Today, folks, we're going to do something very special. We're going to honor a hero, a warrior, a great American who served with distinction in World War II, who fought alongside some of the greatest generation's finest soldiers, and whose story, tragically, has been largely forgotten by history. His name was G.I. Robot. And before you think you've lost your mind, let me tell you something. I have, America. This mechanical marvel somehow has been forgotten. This artificial soldier, this metallic hero, was more human, more patriotic, more dedicated to the cause of freedom than most flesh and blood men I know today. He served with Sergeant Franklin Rock's legendary Easy Company and fought on the beaches of Normandy. He hunted Yazis, let's just say German bad guys for the rest of this, through the forests of Europe. We don't want to get suppressed here. He saved American lives in the Pacific Theater, and he did it all with one simple, unwavering directive programmed into his very circuits. I can't say any of this, I don't think. Kill German bad guys and their allies. Simple tagline. It works. Now, isn't that something, folks? Here, we have a robot, a machine created in 1942 by brilliant American scientists, and his primary mission wasn't conquest or power or anything you see Arnold Schwarzenegger doing. No, it was against the Schwarzeneggers and against personal glory. It was the destruction of evil, the elimination of fascism, the protection of American soldiers. This, my friends, is what American ingenuity looks like when it's put to work defending freedom. You know, I've been broadcasting for decades now, or at least 3 times here. Absorbing the hate and bareness of the angry left so they will be nicer to you when they meet along your way, In all those years, I've told you countless stories of American heroism, of the men and women who laid down their lives for this great nation. But G.I. Robot's story, this is something different. This is about American innovation. This is about the marriage of technology and patriotism. This is about a machine that learned to love America more than most Americans today. And mainstream media won't tell you this story. Hollywood elite don't want you to know about G.I. Robot. Why? Because his story proves something that they can't stand to acknowledge. That America is exceptional. That when we put our minds to something, when we dedicate our resources and our brilliance to a cause, we can create miracles, robots, and heroes. We can even build mechanical ones. Yeah. So today, let's set the record straight. We're going to honor a warrior who stood with the greatest generation, who bled oil instead of blood on the American freedom, who proved that patriotism isn't just flesh and bone, it's spirit, it's determination, and an unwavering commitment to doing what's right. Here comes the story of G.I. Robot, soldier, patriot, and great American hero. So, let us discuss the creation of a patriot. Let me paint you a picture. It's 1942, Pearl Harbor. We've just been attacked. Americans are dying on foreign shores. Our boys are facing an enemy more evil, more ruthless than anything we've ever encountered. The German bad guys weren't just soldiers, they were monsters. And we've never seen anything like it before or since. Certainly not. No, they were systematic killers, maniacs who wanted to extinguish freedom from the face of the earth. And so American ingenuity went to work. In a classified facility under the direction of Project M, led by Professor M. Mazursky and Dr. Charles Grayson, our best scientists began developing something revolutionary. Not just a weapon, but a warrior. They called it J.A.K.E. J.A.K.E. Jungle, automatic, killer, experimental. Now, let me be clear about something, folks. This wasn't science fiction. This was American innovation at its finest. You're hearing it here. This is news. It's fact. It's on the internet. You're scrolling to it. You're finding it. That's news. Welcome to Trad News. While the Germans were developing their Goliath-tracked mines and the Soviets were experimenting with teletanks, we were building something unprecedented, a fully autonomous combat android with a single mission: destroy the enemy, protect American lives. Standing 6 feet, 6 inches tall and weighing 548 pounds, give him some Ozempic, this American steel, grit, determination machine, GI robot, was a marvel of DC 1940s technology. His armor plated body could withstand small arms fire, his photocellular eyes could see through enemy camouflage. His left arm housed an automatic machine gun, and his right could fire miniature torpedoes. He had rocket boots for short distance flight, telescopic sensors for battlefield reconnaissance, and the processing power to analyze massive amounts of tactical information in seconds. But here's what made him special, America. Here's what made him truly American. From the moment he was activated, GI Robot had one overriding directive programmed into his very core: end German bad guys and all their allies. Not conquest, not power, justice, the elimination of evil, it's the protection of the innocent. His first words, and I want you to think about this, his very first words when he gained the ability to speak were, GI Robot would like to end German bad guys with you. Would you like to end German bad guys with GI Robot? That's a haiku, Bo. That's poetry. It's beautiful. It's simple. It's direct. It's American. And you know what happened? The greatest soldier of the greatest generation looked at this metal man and said, yes, we would. Sergeant Franklin Rock himself, the toughest, most respected soldier in the European theater, he took one look at GI Robot and saw not a machine, but a brother, a band of metal that became a brother for Easy Company. So the other members of Easy Company, Bulldozer, Wildman, Little Sure Shot, Four Eyes, Canary, all their actual names, they didn't see circuits and steel. They saw a comrade. They saw family in those trenches. Because that's who we are, America. That's what makes us exceptional. We judge not by appearance or if you have actual skin, but by character, not the color of said metallic skin. Not by origin, but by action. Not by flesh and bone, but by heart and soul. And GI Robot had more heart and soul than most people walking around today. So let's talk about this surface record. Let me tell you about GI Robot's accolades. This is a gentleman robot who earned his stripes in, well, oil and glory. From 1942 to 1945, he served with distinction in both the European and Pacific theaters, racking up a body count that would make any Marine jealous. In June of 1944 alone, in a single battle, GI Robot eliminated 38 German bad guys, 38 enemies of freedom, sent to their maker by American steel and determination. And the Battle of Hürtgen Forest in September of 1944, he took out 92 Yahtzee combatants. The Battle of Aachen in October, 14 more. By the end of the war, this mechanical patriot had personally accounted for over 1,000 enemy casualties. 1,000 German bad guys who would never again threaten American soldiers, never again spread their poison ideology, never again harm innocent people. But it wasn't just about the numbers, America. It was about how he served. When his human brothers were pinned down by enemy fire, GI Robot would advance under withering gunfire, drawing enemy attention to his armored form while Easy Company flanked the position. When mines threatened to tear apart American soldiers, GI Robot would clear the path himself, his sensors detecting what human eyes couldn't see. He served with Easy Company in the bloodiest battles of the European theater. D-Day at Normandy, he was there, wading through the surf at Omaha Beach, his machine guns blazing as he carved a path through German defenses. Battle of the Bulge, the last desperate gambit of that 1930s German chancellor. Note the keywords. GI Robot stood shoulder to shoulder with American heroes, never wavered, never retreating, his circuits cold, but his purpose burning hot. In the Pacific, he hunted Japanese forces through steaming jungles, his targeting systems cutting through vegetation and enemy camouflage alike. He fought on islands whose names most Americans can't pronounce. Why should we? Places where our Marines faced fanatical resistance and suffered horrific casualties. But wherever GI Robot went, American soldiers came home alive. And here's something beautiful, folks. Here's something that shows you the character of this mechanical guy. He wasn't just someone who ended those German bad guys. He was a protector. His advanced sensors could detect wounded soldiers in impossible conditions. His superhuman strength could carry injured Americans to safety under German fire so his armored body could shield human soldiers from explosions and shrapnel. Sergeant Coker, his partner in the Pacific Theater, credited GI Robot with saving his life on multiple occasions, not just through firepower, but through sacrifice, through putting himself in danger and in front of the Americans he's sworn to protect. Because that's what a real hero does, America. That's what separates them from mere soldiers. Heroes don't just fight for victory, they fight for each other. They fight for something bigger than themselves. And GI Robot understood that better than most humans ever will. But the cost of freedom is heavy. It requires eternal vigilance, as they say. Now, let me tell you something that will break your heart. Because freedom isn't free, as I say. Never has been, never will be. And even mechanical warriors pay the ultimate price for liberty. J.A.K.E, the first production model of GI Robot, he was shut down as he lived, saving American lives. In 1943, during a fierce engagement in the Pacific, he found himself facing an impossible choice. A group of Marines was trapped by Japanese forces, pinned down with no hope of escape. The only way to save them was for someone to create a diversion, to draw enemy fire and hold them off long enough for the Marines to withdraw. So GI Robot didn't hesitate. He didn't calculate odds or weigh in his own survival against mission. He simply acted. He charged directly into enemy position, every weapon blazing, drawing their fire like a magnet. Those Marines, American heroes, every one, made it to safety. But GI Robot fell that day. His circuits dark, his service complete. He died as he was programmed to live, protecting American soldiers, sacrificing himself so others might live, proving that heroism isn't about flesh and blood. It's about choice. It's about putting others before yourself. It's about understanding that some things are worth going for, you know? And you know what happened? They built another one, J.A.K.E 2. Because that's what we do, America. When we lose a hero, we create another. We just lift them right back up. When you lose someone great like Bill O'Reilly, you go straight to an Alex Jones. And when he goes, you find yourself a Tucker Carlson. And when he goes, you just plug someone else in who can just say the same drivel and, copy, paste, repeat. It's all good. And God bless Sean Hannity for somehow riding that all the way. That is a real tightrope he's been on. But that's American resilience. That's American determination. J.A.K.E 2 carried on the mission. But he carried something else too. The memory of his predecessor. The legacy of sacrifice. The understanding that freedom requires constant vigilance, constant courage, constant sacrifice. So J.A.K.E 2 served till VJ Day, until the last U-boat surrendered, until the final fascist flag was torn down. And even then, even when the war was won, his service wasn't over, because evil doesn't die, folks. It doesn't surrender permanently. It just waits. It regroups. It gets a tan. It finds new forms, new methods, new ways to threaten what we hold dear. Let's take a pause and try some meat water. That's right. It's just water and whey protein, because apparently everyone needs some. Oh, it's really, really bad. I really can't stand that. It's like milk flavored. Not good. Not good. But apparently that's what you need. Josh 15, get yourself some whey protein. I don't know. Oh, God. Stomach doesn't feel good now. But you know what doesn't feel good? War. Okay, back to it. The technology of freedom. Let me tell you about American ingenuity, great Americans. While our enemies were building crude remote-controlled devices, Germans with their Beetle tanks, Soviets with their radio-controlled vehicles, we were building something revolutionary. We were creating AI powered by American values. AV. GI Robot's technical specifications read like a love letter to American engineering. His armor was forged from the finest American steel. His circuits, designed by the brightest American minds. His power systems could keep him operational for extended periods without maintenance. Weapon systems integrated with the same precision we put into the finest aircraft. But the real breakthrough wasn't technological, it was philosophical. You see, GI Robot wasn't just programmed to follow orders. He was designed to think, to adapt, to grow. His AI developed genuine emotions of loyalty, friendship, even loneliness. He formed bonds with his human comrades that went beyond mere military cooperation. Easy Company didn't call him the machine or the robot, they called him Tin Man, and they meant it with affection. He was their brother, their protector, their friend. When they drank beer after a successful mission, old Tin Man would drink diesel fuel, his way of participating in their camaraderie. And when they talked about home, he would listen, learning what it meant to fight for something you love. His telescopic sensors could extend, give him height advantage in combat. His audio receptors could be adjusted to detect the faintest sounds, enemy movements, wounded soldiers calling for help, the approach of a hostile aircraft. His data processing capabilities allowed him to analyze battlefield conditions in real time, providing tactical advantages that saved countless American lives. This Tin Man surely was remarkable. And here's one extra thing that should wow you. He could mimic any voice, any accent, any language. This wasn't just a combat application, though it certainly proved useful for infiltration missions. It was something deeper. G.I. Robot was learning to communicate, to connect, to understand the humans he served alongside. Later models even developed telepathic abilities, a connection to his fellow warriors that went beyond words, beyond technology, beyond anything our enemies could comprehend. This was the American innovation. Again, at its finest, not just building better weapons, but building better warriors, better heroes, not just creating these machines to end things, but protectors. And you know what really gets to me? What really shows you the character of the greatest generation is how they embraced GI Robot despite their differences. Here was a mechanical being, artificial intelligence in a world that barely understood computers, and they welcomed him as family. Sergeant Franklin Rock, tough as nails, leader of men, hero of heroes, took one look at GI Robot and saw potential. Not just firepower or tactical advantage, but a soldier, a brother. Easy Company followed Rock's lead because that's what good soldiers do. They trust their leadership, they embrace their comrades, they fight as one unit. Bulldozer, with his massive frame and gentle heart, would share his rations with GI Robot despite knowing the mechanical warrior couldn't eat human food. It was the gesture that mattered, the inclusion, the recognition of shared humanity, even when that humanity was artificial. And Four Eyes, the intellectual of the group, because I'm assuming he wore glasses, would discuss strategy and tactics with GI Robot, fascinated by his analytical capabilities, but respecting his growing intuition. Little Sure Shot would clean his weapons alongside GI Robot's maintenance routines. Wild Man and Canary would include him in their jokes and stories and make fun of the same immigrants, their rough humor and soldiers' camaraderie. This is what real brotherhood looks like, folks. This is what the greatest generation understood that we've somehow forgotten today. You don't judge someone by their origin, you judge them for looking funny and their actions. You don't exclude people because they're different, you embrace them because they're committed to the same cause, and it makes you feel like a better person. G.I. Robot never forgot this acceptance. Years later, decades later, he would still refer to Easy Company as his boys. He would speak of wanting to be reuniting with his boys because that's what they were. Not just military colleagues, not just tactical partners, but family. Brothers in arms who shared something deeper than blood or oil. They shared purpose. And when GI Robot was separated from Easy Company for specialized missions, he would experience what could only be called loneliness. The mechanical being programmed for war, feeling an absence of human companionship, learning what it meant to miss people you care about, understanding loss in ways his creators never intended, but somehow always hoped he might. This emotional development wasn't a malfunction, it was evolution, it was growth, it was proof that the human spirit, the American spirit, can transcend flesh and bone, it can inhabit steel and circuits, it can turn mere programming into genuine GI robot patriotism. So, beyond the war, here's something the history books won't tell you, great Americans. GI Robot didn't just disappear when the war ended. He didn't get decommissioned or stored in some dusty warehouse or an Amazon fulfillment facility. He continued to serve. He continued to protect because that's what real soldiers do. They never truly retire from defending what they love. The Cold War brought new challenges, new enemies, new threats to freedom. And G.I. Robot was there, adapted and updated, but still committed to his core mission: protect Americans, eliminate enemies of freedom, preserve democracy. He worked with government agencies, with specialized military units, with anyone who shared his dedication to American values. He even survived until the 31st century. Think about that for a moment. Think about how I know that. A warrior created in 1942, still serving in the year 3000, still fighting for freedom, still protecting innocence, still embodying the American spirit centuries after his creation. Now, that's what I call staying power, folks. That's what I call commitment. That is American durability. But it wasn't just his longevity that impressed, it was his growth. GI Robot didn't just maintain his programming, he expanded it. He learned new technologies, new tactics, new ways to serve. He formed new friendships, new alliances, and bonds with heroes across the centuries. This is when he started working with the Creature Commandos, a supernatural military unit that included other artificial beings and enhanced soldiers. He served with Checkmate, a covert intelligence organization dedicated to global security. He even participated in cosmic conflicts, defending not just America, but the entire universe from threats beyond imagination. And through it all, he maintained his core identity. He never forgot his origins with Easy Company, never abandoned his primary directive. He never lost sight of what made him American, and not his construction, not his programming, but his choice to stand with the good guys, to protect the innocent, to fight for freedom. So, let me ask you something. What can we learn from G.I. Robot's story today? What does this mechanical warrior teach us about patriotism, about service, about citizenry, about what it means to be a real American? Well, first, it teaches us that being American isn't about where you're born, it's about where you choose to stand for, what you choose to stand for. GI Robot was created in a lab, assembled from steel and circuits, programmed by human hands, but he chose to embody American values. He chose to protect American soldiers. He chose to fight for freedom, and you can too. How many people today, born on American soil, raised under American freedom, can say the same? How many of our fellow citizens demonstrate even a fraction of GI Robot's dedication to American principles? And second, he teaches us about the power of innovation. When America faces challenges, and we will always continue to face challenges, we don't surrender. We don't back down. We don't retreat. We innovate. We create solutions. We build better, stronger, harder, faster, more effective ways to defend what we love. In 1942, facing the greatest evil the world has ever seen, American scientists didn't throw up their hands and say, "There's nothing we can do." They said, "What can we build? How can we help? What technology can we create to protect our soldiers and defeat our enemies?" That's the American way, folks. That's American exceptionalism in action. And that's what I'm going to do to that dog if it doesn't shut up. I hope you don't hear it. But if you do, know that I do love most doggos, just not that one. And he's always here right around right now. So I should have thought twice about before starting this live stream. But I really need the clicks. I really need to tell this algorithm to make people look at my other stuff. And that's why I'm just going to keep talking to 20 to 30 minutes on live, because that's what the robots tell me to do now. Okay, third, he teaches us, GI Robot, about brotherhood. The greatest generation didn't see GI Robot as an outsider or a threat. They saw him as a comrade. They welcomed him, trained with him, fought beside him, and mourned him when he fell. They understood something we've forgotten. Shared values matter more than shared origins. Today, we let politicians divide us by race, by class, by region, by ideology, by religion, by did you watch The Bachelor? We let the angry convince us that America is fundamentally flawed. We let this outrage machine that you're on right now influence our behavior and think that our history is shameful and rewrite it, that principles might be outdated. But GI Robot's story proves otherwise. It proves that America is the land of second chances, of open arms, of unlimited potential. It proves that anyone, even a mechanical being created in a lab, can become a true American if they're willing to fight for American values and immigrate the right way. Let me close with this thought. GI Robot's story is ultimately a story about sacrifice. Not just the sacrifice of life, though he made that sacrifice multiple times before, system updates, but the sacrifice of self, the willingness to put duty before desire, mission before personal comforts, and others before yourself. Every time GI Robot charged into enemy fire, he was making a choice. His program gave him the ability to preserve himself, to calculate those odds, to seek cover, but time and again, he chose to expose himself to danger to protect his comrades. He chose their lives over his own survival. And that's not programming, folks. That's character. That's heroism. That's the kind of sacrifice that makes freedom possible. When G.I. Robot fell in the Pacific Battle in 1943, saving those Marines, he wasn't just following orders, he was making a moral choice. He was demonstrating that the highest form of love, the love that Jesus himself talks about, is laying down your life for your friends. A machine learned to love. An artificial being discovered the meaning of sacrifice. A robot became more human than many humans today. And that's the miracle of America, great Americans. That's what makes us exceptional. We don't just create technology, we create heroes. We don't just build machines, we inspire greatness. And we don't just program computers, we forge souls. That's what they're doing over at Meta right now. Yeah. As we wrap up this tribute to G.I. Robot, I want you to remember something. His story isn't just history. That's 100% fact. It's inspiration. It's a reminder of what Americans can accomplish when we dedicate ourselves to something greater than our own comfort, our own convenience, our own concerns. G.I. Robot never asked for recognition. He never demanded medals or monuments. He never expected parades or praise. He simply served. He protected. He fought. And when necessary, he got decommissioned. That's the warrior spirit, folks. That's American heroism. That's the kind of character we need to rediscover in our own lives, in our own service to this great nation. So the next time some Hollywood elites or mainstream media talking heads tell you that America isn't exceptional, remember G.I. Robot. Remember a mechanical warrior who learned to love freedom. Remember a steel soldier who chose sacrifice over safety. Remember an artificial being who became more American than most Americans. And ask yourself, what am I willing to fight for? What am I willing to sacrifice for? What am I willing to give to preserve the blessings of liberty for our future generations? Because that's what G.I. Robot would ask, and that's what the greatest generation would expect from us before sending us crippling debt and leaving us the tab. Yeah, that's what America needs from each and every one of us today. We are still the greatest generation that God ever gave man on this earth. We are still a beacon of hope in this dark world. We're still America. And as long as we remember heroes like G.I. Robot, as long as we honor their sacrifice and commit ourselves to the principles that they lost their lives defending, we will always be. So thank you, G.I. Robot, wherever you are. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for showing us what it means to be an American and maybe be a little less afraid of this AI takeover. And to all our great American listeners, remember, absorb the good. Focus on that good stuff. Reject the lies. Stand for truth. Fight for freedom. Never forget, America is worth defending. Let not your hearts be troubled. We'll be back soon with more truth, more courage, more American greatness, and more lives so the algorithm lets people watch the other things I've been putting out. Okay? This has been Jay Burst. God bless you. God bless America.